that you can have something to fall back to if you need to refresh your memory as to what you've learned today. To start with, I want us to do a quick exercise. I'm sure before you came to this class, you must have, if you already do not have solid idea around social entrepreneurship, you must have gone through, read one or two things about it, or perhaps when you were completing your application, you had also done a little bit of research so that you could put in a quality application. So we're going to do a quick icebreaker, and this is how it's going to work. If you want to answer the question or if you want to unscramble a word, you just signify by raising your hand, and then I will call on you to speak. So we have 6 words on the screen, and I'm going to start with the first one. I want you to unscramble the first word on the screen. These are all words related to social entrepreneurship. So I just want to, test and see who is going to come up first to unscramble the first word. I want to hear voices. So, okay, Nafisat, you have the floor. You can unmute yourself and unscramble the first one.
Entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much, Nafisat. I think that is correct. Who is going to go for the second one?
Innovation.
Who is speaking? Who is speaking? If you want to, so Nafisat,
Okay, so
you already answered one.
I unscrambled impact.
And so we're still on the second word in orange. Okay. So this is Oluwatoyin, you have the floor.
Innovation.
Thank you very much, Oluwatoyin. We have the word in white. Who is going to unscramble that for us? Just signify by raising your hand. If you've answered the question, you can drop your hand.
Impact.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, the fourth word in white. Nafisat, you have your hands up, but you've already answered one question. So I'm going to call on another person. Deborah, you have your hands up.
Community.
Community, yes, that's true. That's correct. Thank you very much. Yes, who is unscrambling the fifth word for us in orange? I'm going to call on Tife Designs. Is Tife Designs unmuting herself? Yes. Uh-oh, we cannot hear you. Any other taker for the option for the word in orange? Izzy, you have the floor.
Social.
Thank you very much. That's correct. And then we have the final one. Who wants to give a go on the final one?
Sustainability.
Who is speaking? I need to know who unscrambled it. Tife Designs. Okay, sustainability. Yes, we've all done well. This is just for us to, just play around with some words before we get into the meat of the matter. So what we want to do in this first session is truly and really understanding what social entrepreneurship is. We will have another exercise that we will do, and then we'll be able to come back together to look at, to reflect, to put in our thoughts and then reflect on what we think social entrepreneurship is. So I would go and say social entrepreneurship is a form of entrepreneurship that is not 100% for profit. It is not driven by profits. It is not driven by the idea of, wanting to make profits. It doesn't mean that social entrepreneurs do not make profits. They make profit, but the bulk of the profit is plowed back into the business for impact. So they are more focused on impact. They are more focused on value. They are more focused on, their community development or stakeholder development, as against for-profit businesses that are focused on, shareholders' profits or profits in general. So that is social entrepreneurship. Now, this is just a general definition of social entrepreneurship. Now, when you say, some people would say, oh, yes, I run a social enterprise. But at the end of the day, when you unpack that business or when you unpack that venture, you will realize that they are either running a nonprofit or they are running a for-profit. The fact that you have a for-profit organization that has a CSO does not, CSR activities does not mean that you're running a social enterprise. So we're going to go ahead now and take a look at what the specific characteristics of, social enterprises have. So as I run through these characteristics, I need you to begin to look at, the idea that you have and, begin to tick some boxes just to be sure that you're able to align the idea that you already have in your head to social enterprises. Now, there are several key characteristics of social enterprises, but what I have done is just to itemize 9. There are way more than 9. Now, the first thing is that social mission is at the core. It means that, like I've said before, from the general definition, it means that the business itself is not driven by profit. It is driven by the need to make social impact. So it could be that you're addressing unemployment, for example. It could be that you're addressing sanitation. It could be that you're addressing climate change with your products. It could be, you're addressing maybe mining degradation and all of those things. That is the core of your business. Now, the difference between, let's use the mining as an example. Let's say a company is set up to be a mining organization and has a CSR that provides some sort of support to the community after they have done, mining activities within that community. That particular business is a for-profit business. They just give back because they know that they are taking something valuable from the community and degrading the community, so they are putting something back. Now consider another company that is set up solely to provide remedies for the shortfalls or the outfalls of mining activities in a particular community. It could be that their services will be to fill up, the places that have been degraded, that has been neglected by, the miners. It could be to provide primary healthcare centers to take care of the people that have been exposed to the dangers of mining activities. Now, the people that are going to be patronizing that particular hospital will pay. It doesn't mean that they're not going to pay, but at the heart of that activity is the fact that the money they would pay will be considerably lower than what they would have paid in a normal hospital, in a for-profit, primary healthcare facility. Now, this tells you that the community is at the center, is at the heart of that particular venture, and that qualifies it as a social enterprise. Now, another thing is that every social enterprise must be scalable. If you have a business that cannot be scaled, if you have a social enterprise that cannot be scaled, then it is either just a small business, a small for-profit business, or anything like that. Every impact you make must be scalable. And because we are talking today, this program is centered around tech-enabled social enterprises, I am going to go ahead and further say that whatever idea that you're going to be coming up with, from today to the end of the program has to be an idea that should be scalable using technology. Now, we are in the 21st century. If you have not, if you're not on board the technology wagon, you're going to be left behind. So whatever opportunities, whatever ideas you're going to be coming up with now has to be something that you can scale using technology. Like I said before, when I was defining social enterprises, I said that most of the time the profit, or almost, let me not even say most of the time, certainly the profit that they make from the business is reinvested into the business to generate more impact. That is another clear definer for a social enterprise. Now, when it comes to a for-profit enterprise, most of the time, the profit is not necessarily plowed back into the business to generate more impact. It is rather plowed back into the business, or the profits are maximized in such a way that when it is pulled back into the business, it is to expand their offerings and get more profits. Whereas for social enterprises, it is to plow it back into the business to be able to generate more impact. Now, I am not saying that social enterprises do not make profit or do not make money from the profits that they also make, but the bulk of the money they make is going back into the business to generate more impact. Now, just like for-profit enterprises, social enterprises also must have innovative approaches. There are 10,000. So, for example, for every for-profit business that you have existing, there's a version of it that can be done as a social enterprise. Now, for you to be able to do it as a social enterprise, to make money, to get grants, to get funding, you have to become innovative and creative about it. You must be able to challenge the traditional way of doing that particular business. Unless you are able to do that, I hope you can still see my screen. Please let me know if you can still see my screen.
Yes, ma, I can see your screen.
All right, okay. So unless you're able to do that, your growth within that sector or trying to make impact will be stunted. Now, another thing is, rather than monitoring or rather than measuring profits, for social enterprises, what you measure is impact. So before you begin to work on your idea, one of the things that you must put in your parking lot is the impact, the goals that you want to meet, the impact goals that you want to meet, the problems that you want to solve, the solutions that you want to provide in a measurable manner. So unless your idea, when implemented, is able to create impacts that are tangible and measurable, that particular venture cannot be characterized as a social enterprise. Then no social enterprise succeeds alone. You have to collaborate. Again, like I said, because you know that the primary aim is not to make profit. So that means you have to leverage shared results, shared impact. So most social enterprises that you see will either collaborate with government, collaborate with development organizations, collaborate with other nonprofits, and even collaborate with for-profit organizations. So for example, there is an organization that provides primary healthcare services for older people in Nigeria. And I know for a fact that the last time that we were reviewing their activities, one of the people that they collaborated with in the last financial year was UBA. Now, the results they got in 2023 would not have been possible if they didn't have the financial backing or collaboration of organizations like United Bank of Africa. So when you run a social enterprise, you must be open to collaborate. If you do it alone, it is not a social enterprise. It is not necessarily a social enterprise. Now, I'm focusing more on this because as we go in this course, one of the things that we would want to see is that we see some of you collaborate together to come up with a product or to come up with an idea that you can co-implement. So you can, as we go in the program, you would be able to identify people who share the same values, who share the same ideas as you, and that you can collaborate together to form a social enterprise and move on from there. Then another thing about social enterprise is that they leverage networks and ecosystems for greater impact. For example, with TribeBridge Initiative, where we are right now is where our office is situated is what you can call an ecosystem, a social enterprise ecosystem. It is a community where other, entrepreneurs, both for profit and non-profit, can come in to work out of. So we leverage the impact within that organization. We leverage the connections and the network within that organization to do some of the work that we do. Now, that is a perfect example of a social enterprise. Do they make profit? Yes. But do they plow the profit back into making people like us find value in the activities that they do and making people like us be able to afford, their services? Yes. So that qualifies them as a social enterprise. Now, another thing is sustainability. From the title of the program, you would see that we were deliberate to put sustainability behind the tech-enabled social enterprise. Any business, whether for profit or social enterprise that is not sustainable can never be successful. So from the get-go, you need to begin to put the sustainability plan into action. One of the problems that we see with social enterprises in Nigeria is the fact that they rely more on grants and on donor funding to function. Now, we're going to be teaching you in this course how not to solely rely on donor funds or grants to sustain your business, because your financial balances must be sustainable for you to make long-term impact. So that's one thing that characterizes social enterprises. Another thing that I've said is that it is stakeholder focused. That means the community you want to serve, the people you want to serve, that is the driving force of your idea. They are central to your idea. You consider the interest of all your stakeholders before you even launch any product to them. So it means that, as against a for-profit business that would just wake up one day and say that this is what I want to buy, this is what I want to sell, or these are the services that I want to render. I have done market research and all of that. And then they just launch the program or the product or the service. When it comes to social enterprises, you will actually engage your beneficiaries, you will engage your stakeholders in the decision-making process. I'm sure the resource person that will take the next class will actually guide you step by step into how to do that. Now, the last thing about social enterprises is the fact that they are big on empowerment and capacity building. No matter what you do, there's always an element of your activity that seeks to empower your users or your product buyers or your beneficiaries, where you build their capacities, you entrench capacity building into the activities that you do. And then you focus on the long-term solutions rather than the short-term aid. This adage that says, you teach me how to fish instead of giving me a fish, is one thing that is central to social enterprises. Now, I'm going to pause for a moment to take questions if you have any. If you want to ask questions, you can just raise your hand and I'll be quite happy to answer your questions before we move on. Oluwatoyin, do you have your hands up, or is the hands from the exercise? Any questions? If there are none, you can. Okay, Nafisat says she doesn't really understand scalable impact. Now, when you say something is scalable, it means that if you started from 10, you're able to move to 20. For example, if your product or if the service you're rendering is able to, at the initial stage, serve 30 people, we're saying that you must build that system in such a way that when you have 50 people, you are able to accommodate them. For example, let's say you want to have a blog or a learning platform for it. Let's use a learning platform. You want to have a learning platform that teaches maybe young people English or something like that. And when you build the platform initially, when 100 people access it, it doesn't crash. And then the moment you have 200 people accessing it, it crashes. What we're saying is when we say structure in such a way that it is scalable, structure in such a way that when you have, even though the capacity you have is for 100, there is room within that system to expand it. Let me use a tech example. You buy a website, you buy a domain or a hosting plan, and that hosting plan gives you 30 gigs, for example. Where you are buying it from, before you buy it, you will ensure that they have an option for you to upgrade your hosting before you even purchase. So the ideas that you're going to come up with should be an idea that can move from 30 to 40, from 40 to 50, from 50 to 100 in impact. So if your idea is able to benefit 30 people in year one, we want to see that in year two, you have the potential to reach 60 people, 100 people. Now, you want to see, so Damilola says, would you please give a relatable example of an organization involved in social entrepreneurship and details of what they do? So, do we all know the platform crowdfunding? Platforms where you can crowdfund for your project. You can type in the chat section if you know. Do you know platforms like change.org? Do you know platforms like Goodwill? These are organizations that are involved in, okay, no, okay. It's a good thing that I'm saying no here. So by the time we move to the next, I think I have a slide that has examples of these social enterprises, and I can explain exactly what they do. So permit me to, come back to your question when I have that example, when I get to that slide with the example, so that everybody can be, since we have a lot of people that says no. Any other question before I move on to that slide? Any other question before I move to that slide? Or if you can confirm that I should move to continue, please type continue in the chat box so that I can move on to the next slide. And then we can take a look at good examples. Okay, awesome. So before we get to the example, this is my definition of social entrepreneurship, and this is why I've put it as, think of it this way. Social entrepreneurs are like regular entrepreneurs. They are like, your regular Dangote, your regular Tedola, your regular, entrepreneur. But the difference between them and the regular for-profit entrepreneurs is the fact that they have a bigger heart. What drives them is the need to impact their communities. What drives them is the need to impact the people. So, like I said, I will share examples of people like that, of businesses like that in and outside Nigeria. Now, they are passionate about making a difference in the world and use their business skills to address social issues. So they are not just about, making money from the business. They are about addressing social issues. An example of one that we should all know, that we should have seen on social media, is Tutera. Has anybody heard of Tutera? Let me know in the chat box if you've heard of Tutera. Yes, so Tutera is a perfect example of, social enterprise. Tutera tackles, education. They are in the education space. What drives them is the need for students to be able to do well in school, to pass the exams. They're like, when we were young, we had lesson teachers, we had lesson coaches. They're like, they provide coaching services to students. So by doing that, what drives their activity is the need to see people, to see students, secondary school students, or I think they do secondary school, to see secondary school students scale in their, education, to perform well in school and all of that. That's an example of, social enterprise. We all heard of the person, the chess in the slum. At least if you've not heard of Tutera, you must have heard of chess in the slum. The man that won Guinness Book of Record on playing chess in New York the other time. We've heard of it, right? That is a social enterprise. Does it make money? Yes, because people donate to them. But where does the money go? It goes back into ensuring that those kids, have a better life. It takes them out of the slum where they are into, into a better place, giving them a better platform in life. So what drives in is the need to take children out of the slum into where, they would, thrive better. That's another example of a social entrepreneur. Now, one of the things that I need to also establish from here is the fact that social entrepreneurship can be in two ways. Some social entrepreneurs will go by way of just solidly just going through the nonprofit route, but not just the generic nonprofit. They have a particular challenge that they are focused on solving. They get money to solve it. And then when they have leftover from the money or from the funding that they get, instead of blowing it on other things, they will plow it back into creating another program to benefit people within that same line where they work. So, and then there are others who would have products, who will have tech products, and then they make money from that tech product and plow it back into the business. An example of that, or of the tech ones, like I've said, is the Tutera that we talked about. Again, I will share more examples as we go on, or I think I have a slide that has some specific examples about social entrepreneurs in Nigeria. Now let's move on. Again, like I said, social entrepreneurs are like regular entrepreneurs, but with a bigger heart. They are passionate about making a difference in the world and use their business skills to address social issues. I'm going to take you back to the original definition, to the general definition of social entrepreneurship. I want you to focus on your screen, look at it very well, read it, assimilate it, because I'm going to test us on this particular, session that we've done before we move on to the examples and other practical ways to, position you better to generate the idea for your social enterprise. Now, if you're ready for your exercise, just let me know in the chat box. It's just a quick fun exercise. It's not a test, it's not anything. It's just quick fun exercise that we would all, work on real time. So if you're ready for it, just let me know in the chat box. Just say yes.
I don't know why, but I can't get through to the chat.
You can't get through to the chat.
I can't.
Who is speaking, please?
Easy.
Let me check your connection and okay. You should be able to. Please just look at the bottom. Are you using a phone or a computer?
I'm using a phone.
At the bottom of your phone, you should be able to see 3 hamburger and then maybe something like this. If you click on it, you should be able to see the charts. Can you access the chat now?
But then it says I've left the conversation.
Oh wow. I'm trying to figure anybody
Sorry,
Ruth, can you guide? Okay.
Okay, Deborah.
Yeah, so I'm saying that if you, right after your slide, you're going to see participants, like just a couple of them. Then the next one, you're going to see a camera. Can you see the camera and microphone options?
Okay, so I can see that.
Is it?
Can you see? Yes.
Can you see the 3 dots?
Okay. You see
If you
a
are
3
seeing
dots,
her screen, can you see the 3 dots after the speaker? After the speaker
Yes.
icon. Okay, so click on
Yes.
that 3 dots. So click on the 3 dots.
Okay.
When you click on the 3 dots, you can see those other icons. The first thing you see there is chat, there's people, there's views. Can you see any of those?
Yes, I've clicked on chat, but it says here that I have left the conversation.
Okay, you might leave and join again.
Okay,
So-
maybe you should leave and join again. Yes, leave the
All right.
and join again. But that's where the chat is. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Please, if your mic is on, you can turn it off. Thank you.
Okay, so in your chat box, you would see a link that I have provided in the link in the chat box. Just click on the link. You do not need to sign in or anything. Just click on the link and answer the question that you have on the screen. We're going to be looking at it real life together. So I'm also going to go into the admin board and see what we are creating together. Are you able to sign in? Are you able to access the link? Yes, I can see that we're working now.
Yes, I've entered my option, but you said the presenter hasn't changed slides yet.
I didn't hear that. What did you say?
So I said I just entered my responses for the 3-tier question, and then it's saying, please, the presenter hasn't changed slides yet.
Can you type what you just said now? Your voice is scrambled on my end. I couldn't hear you very well.
Hello, man. So I just clicked the link, but it's saying waiting for presentation to start.
Yes, but have you put in your submission? You've typed in your submission.
Okay, let me do that.
Can you see my screen? I believe you should be able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so what you see on the screen is what you're typing right now. And so far we have 21 responses. So that means we have people who have more than one response, which is very welcome. Anything that comes to your mind when you hear social entrepreneurship based on what we have talked about so far, this is just like a knowledge check. Yes, this is good. So we have social impact, we have business, we have creative, we have impact. There are still some keywords that I'm looking for that I've not seen. There are still some words that can come in here that we have not seen. We have 24 responses. We should have more. Yes. There's a particular word that I kept on saying in my presentation that I said so many times in my presentation, and I still can't see it on the screen. I'm still looking for it. I hope somebody will be able to put it in. Okay. It's still not here. But let's unpack what we have on the screen so far. So what we're looking at is social impact, and a lot of you have said non-profit organization. Some person said non-profit organization, but if there's something that is repetitive on the screen, it would be impact. I can see impact like 2 times or 3 times on the screen in different ways. I can see social development, I can see solutions, I can see solving problems, community, I can see financial sustainability, I can see social or environmental and all of that. What I fail to see is the word stakeholder. I kept on talking about stakeholder in my previous presentation. So it means that we didn't catch that very well, because I would have expected that it would be the first thing that will be on the screen. Anyway, it's a knowledge check, I'm sure by the time we do the next knowledge check, we will have more things to say. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can continue with the presentation or with the learning session, not necessarily a presentation. So let me come back to you and share my screen. Please confirm to me if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so
Yes,
let's
you
move
can.
on.
Understanding social
Awesome.
entrepreneurship.
Okay, awesome. So this is a slide to tell us technology's role in social impact. But before we do that, I have some examples of social impacts under each of these roles. But I want us to take a look at some, businesses in Nigeria that you can easily relate to. Maybe not necessarily Nigerian-based businesses. There will be some, I will mention some that are Nigerian-based, and I will also mention some that are global, but that we use in Nigeria. Have you ever heard of a business that does recycling?
Yes, I have.
Yes. So there's one of those businesses that does recycling, I think is one of the big ones. What drives them is the need, they are working on environment. It is the need to preserve the environment that pushes them, that pushes them into, setting up a business that takes care of the nylons or of the rubbers, of the plastics that goes into the environment that do not degrade. And then they turn them into things that you can now use. They call them renewable products or renewable, I think it's renewable products they call them. Such businesses are driven by a problem, a social problem in the community that they are solving, not just necessarily a need to maximize profit from the waste of people. I think they call them waste recycling or something like that. Now, that is one. Have you heard of change.org? Most of us must have heard of change.org. If you were active during the EndSARS project, you must have heard of change.org, where you go and put in your petition, and then when you have a certain number of signature, you can move it to the State House of Assembly or the National House of Assembly for resolution and things like that. That is an example of a social enterprise. Do they make money? Yes. For every time you visit that website, they make some money. They do advertisement on the website as well, but the money is plowed back into ensuring that that particular platform is available for people to use to resolve issues, whether national or global issues, when they need it. So that's an example of social enterprise in Nigeria that you can quickly, think about. I've mentioned Tutera, I've mentioned the waste recycling, I've mentioned change.org. I've mentioned some of these things that you can literally, look at. What you should be thinking about when it comes to social enterprises is the fact that they are driven by the need to solve a particular social problem. So for you to set up your own social enterprise, you need to identify what social problem you want to solve. And I'm not saying so just pick random. Look at what drives you. Whenever you see something that makes you, that gets you angry or that makes you feel sad, think about the solution that you can provide to those things. I'm not talking about maybe relationship or things that makes you feel sad in those ways, things that you see within the community that makes you feel sad. If you think about it, then you can create an idea around it. At this point, you're not necessarily creating a definitive idea, but you're having some ideas in your parking lots that can guide you towards what your social enterprise would be. Now, The role of technology in social impact. Expanding reach and access. Most of us, for example, we are using Teams to work now, to communicate now. This is powered by technology. If Teams was not available, if Zoom was not available, I'm sure we'll be thinking of, setting up a physical meeting where you all come to and all of that. But with Zoom, with Teams, we're able to reach you without leaving the comfort of wherever we are. And we are also able to communicate with us without leaving where you are. So digital platforms like that helps you to expand your reach when it comes to social impact. Now, another thing that technology helps to do when it comes to social impact is to improve efficiency and effectiveness. I'm sure there's a portion of this course that Dr. Akombi is going to take and is going to be talking to you. He's going to be teaching you how to leverage AI, even to generate or fine-tune the ideas that you have or that you want to have for your social enterprise. So I'm not going to jump the gun and teach you about it, but when it comes to expanding your impact and improving your efficiency and effectiveness, technology's role cannot be overemphasized. Now, fostering innovation in solution design. You have your phone now, for example, a blind person can use the same phone you're using because of assistive services. It is powered by technology. Now, when we talk about amplifying voices and advocacy, you have your social media platform. I think there's also a session that is going to teach you how to, amplify your social enterprise using social media. So I'm not also going to jump right into that. Mine today is just to lay the foundation for the things that you're going to be learning throughout the 10 weeks of this program. I've mentioned an example of change.org. It is a platform that helps you amplify your voice and advocacy. If you have something that you want to fight, you can take it to change.org and put it there, and then you start sharing and asking people to sign. If you have a sufficient amount of signature, you are guaranteed, or you are sure that you're on your way to getting resolution to that particular problem or to the solution that you want to profile. Now, it also facilitates collaboration and knowledge sharing. I've talked about it. This is what we're doing now. We're using Zoom right now. There's also another platform that we will introduce you to, which is GitHubs, where we also share resources, free resources to help you, build your enterprise using technology. These are some of the ways that technology, helps with social impact. There are more ways. There is increasing transparency and accountability. By the time you start your social enterprise, we'll also introduce you to ways that you can raise money for your social enterprise and how the money that you have raised will be monitored to ensure that you're using it for what it is supposed to be used for. Then we also have business model. I think there's a session that will talk to you about business model. And then we've talked about scale. Nafisa that asked about scaling, that she doesn't really didn't understand scaling at that time. Technology will also give you ideas on how to scale your social enterprise, and it also gives you a platform to actually scale. For example, we talk about cloud computing. We talk about, most of us, if you use Google, you have a Google Drive. Google Drive is scalable. They've made it in such a way that it is scalable. You have a free version of it. And then if you want more access to some things, you pay for it. It is because the platform was already made, scalable. Then we also, talk about technology helping with empowering beneficiaries. I'm sure most of us have heard of Duolingo. This is a platform where you can learn any language of your choice, any language you so wish to learn for free to a certain extent. It is a social enterprise that is powered by technology, and the impact is made expandable by also the power of technology. Then, of course, we have data collection and analysis. we've all been hearing about Microsoft Power BI and all of those things. They are made possible by the power of technology, and they also make your work as a social entrepreneur easy because you can leverage on them to increase your social impact. Now, I'm going to pause a moment as well to take some questions before we go to the next, and I think perhaps the final session for today, because we didn't start early and it is important for us to finish when we say we want to finish. We was expected to finish at 1 p.m. So we have about 40 more minutes to go, but we have an activity that we will need to do for about 20 minutes. So if you have questions, I can take some questions now. If you have questions, I'll take questions. Yes, good afternoon.
This is not a question per se towards what you just thought. I want to ask that do we have access to the slides? Or
yes,
maybe
at
there's
the
a
end
place
of
of
the session. No, at the end of the session, you will get an email with the slide.
Okay.
You should be able to get an email with the slides and your schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Yes. Deborah, you have the floor. You can ask your question. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deborah. So the other time when we were listing examples of certain social enterprise, you mentioned change. But I'm actually curious because based off on what you told us, aside from the solutions that they are offering,
I
they are
mentioned
also
what? Sorry, I didn't hear you. I mentioned what?
Oh,
Sorry, I was connected to a Bluetooth device. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now, clearly.
Okay, so I said the other time you were listing certain examples of social enterprise, you mentioned change. And
Change.org, yes.
yes, change.org. And I'm actually curious to know, because based off on the learnings you've given to us as to, aside from the social impact they are creating or their innovation, they are also able to make profits. And looking at the whole idea of we signing petitions and all of those things, so I'm curious to know, how are they making profits through their business model? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very beautiful question. So I'm going to answer you this way. Change.org is a social platform, right? Just like your Facebook. How does Facebook make money? Facebook make money from all the clicks. Each time you sign on Facebook, Facebook makes money. Do we all agree? Each time you open your Facebook application, whether you type something, whether you interact with anybody or not, Facebook is making money. Do we all agree?
Yes.
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 It is the same way that Change.org makes money. When you interact with their platform, they make money. Per click, they make money. There will be advertisement, there will be subtle advertisements. They make money from it. So that is how they make money. But because it is a social enterprise, the money, the profit they make is also plowed back into ensuring that that platform remains relevant and it is active, it is available for people to use. And it is also from that same money they make that they pay the people that work for them. So they make money through the Internet of Things. I'm not going to jump the gun to go more into it, but I'm sure by the time you receive the packet for your schedule, you will see a session that is dedicated to how to make money from social enterprises. So that particular session is going to be unpacked by the resource person, but this is just an example of how change.org would make money. Is there a sufficient temporary answer for you?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome. Any other question before we move on? Any other person has a question? Okay, I would assume that there are no questions. So let's just move on so that we are able to maximize the time that we have. So we have an activity that we want to do, and this is the technical activity for today. Now, I'm not going to say that you must clean it up today, but I would say that we want to see that you have something in this activity for today, and then you have from between now and on Thursday and Friday to complete this activity, and then we will review it. But today you will complete a section of the activity as much as you can, and then we can now ensure that you have peers to take a look at it. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you.
Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. So I'm going to post the link for the activity, and I'm going to give you the instructions for the activity. Let me just put the link for you in the chat box, and I'm going to give you 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to actually take a look at it. And then we'll use another 10 minutes for us to unpack it together, or you unpack it with your peer, because we're going to pair you. You unpack it with your partner, and then we will come to plenary. So in the chat box, you will see a link to a Google document. Please go ahead and open it. And then once you open it, I'm going to explain what you need to do. This section is what we call personal reflection. We understand that some of you have come in without any social enterprise idea at all, but you are passionate about solving a social issue. This session is the first of the many sessions that will help you clean up, the ideas that you have in your head, or the passion you have, just to be able to lock down on one particular issue that you want to solve. So I need you to open that document. Once you've opened it, you can let me know that you've opened it, and then I can explain what you need to do.
I have opened it.
Have you been able to open it?
Yes, I've opened it.
Okay, so this is what we want you to do. We have provided 5 prompts, just 5 simple prompts. There will be other prompts as the program, unfolds. But these 5 prompts are the initial prompts you need to help you get started on your social enterprise ideas. I would want to encourage you at this point to let your experience guide you, the things that you have experienced, guide you into locking down on one particular social issue that you want to solve. I want you to be honest with yourself and give thoughtful responses. And then when we come back to the group, you will not be forced to share what you do not want to share. You will only share what you're comfortable sharing. And then you can revisit the reflections, after the program. So you have 10 minutes really to take a look at this. I'm going to be monitoring it from the back end here. You have 10 minutes to, do a quick run through of the 5 prompts and put in something, then we will pair you. Thankfully, we have just few of us on the call right now, so the breakout shouldn't be too difficult to manage. So you have 10 minutes and your 10 minutes start now. If you have issues accessing the form, please let me know so that we can guide you through it.
Excuse me, please. Are we to answer all of the questions?
Yes, please. You have to
Hello.
answer all the questions. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we have one response so far. Even though it's a skeletal response, but we hope that by the time you go into your peers, you would have more clarity. And then before the end of the week, you would also, be able to move that idea to some level, maybe 50% of what it should be by the end of the week. So we're waiting for few more persons to submit so that we can now quickly pair you, and then you can bounce your idea off your peer. Let's go check again to see if we have any other submission. Okay, please keep it coming. Is how many more minutes do we have of the 10 minutes?
We have just 1 more minute, just 1 minute.
Okay, can we extend it a little bit? We only have 3 responses so far.
Okay,
I know
maybe
it's a
15,
lot to
20 minutes.
Yes, it's a lot to do in 10 minutes, but I'm hoping that we're able to just get something that we can bounce off on. So we have 4 responses so far. Okay, so we have 6 responses. I think we are only short of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we're short of about just 1 or 2 more. Okay, I think we have sufficient amount of submissions now. Okay, so for some reasons, if some of you cannot be assigned to rooms, some of you can be, and others cannot be assigned to rooms. So we're going to switch up how we will do this, session, because it would exclude those who are not, whose settings would not allow us to add into rooms. But let me try one more time if I'm able to pick them into rooms. But so far, Precious, Ruth, Tife, and just Precious, Ruth, and Tife cannot be assigned to room. So I'm just going to go ahead and assign some of you to rooms, and then the rest who I'm not able to assign to rooms, will just do yours in the open room. Just a moment, let me put you in your rooms. Scar and Deborah. Immortal. To room 2. AD and Watson to room 3. Okay, so you'll be going into your rooms now. I will jump in just to tell you what to do. Okay, for those of us in the open room, I'm unable to add you to rooms, but can you hear me? Just confirm you can hear me so that I can tell you what you need to do as well. If you can hear me,
Yes,
let
I
me
can
know.
hear you. I can hear you.
What about Ife and Precious? Are they on the call or?
Yes, ma. Yes, ma.
Okay, awesome. So this is what I want you to do before I go into the other rooms to give instructions as well. You see everything that you have written in your Google form. I want you to bounce it off your peer. That's the person that I've paired you with. And what I need you to do is to help them look for gaps in what they have written or in what they have submitted, what they share with you. You can put pointers. You can suggest that they do this or they look at it from this angle. And so once you do that for them, they will also do the same for you. And then you have to do that in just 10 minutes. And you're not going to do anything about it other than the fact that, yes, you and Ruth are in the same, in this open room. You, Ruth, and Precious are in this open room. So you just bounce it off yourself. You can speak from here. Tife, you are paired with Ruth.
Okay, so are we to
Tife, you are
use
paired.
are we to chat over it or we speak over it? Like, are we
You can
allowed
speak.
to speak
No.
or to chat? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead and speak. Yes.
Could you please add me back to the group? For some reason, I got kicked off the session.
Okay, that's Deborah. You
Yes.
were in room 1 or 2. Which room were you in?
I didn't even get to see the room. I just found out that I was locked out or something.
Okay,
I
so
saw
I'm
She's supposed to be in
pushing.
room 1.
Okay, I'm pushing you to room 1.
My name is Precious. I believe that you said we can also talk, not necessarily chat.
Yeah, we can.
Since
Yes, we
all
can
of us
talk,
that
not
is remaining
necessarily
here,
chat.
the three of us,
Yes.
yeah, to
Yes, we
discuss.
can talk.
Yes, we can
We not
discuss.
necessarily chat. So Tife, the
Let
three
me
of us
open
are
the
going to be
floor.
using this platform because sorry, Precious. The three of us are
I
going to be
think
using this
we are to talk
platform.
on the
We are
personal
unable to
reflection,
give
right?
yes. So Tife, I'm trying to make Tife understand that this is the platform we are using, that she was unable to add us to the room.
Okay.
So we are using this open platform to have our conversation. Tife, are you there?
Hello.
Hello, Tife.
Is there any issue?
No, there's no issue, ma'am. I think Tife is asking, she wanted to be clear on what room we are. So I'm trying to let her know that you were unable to add us to the room. So we are using this open platform for our conversation. Precious, I think you can go ahead to talk.
Okay. My name is Precious Elike. Based on the first question in the personal reflection,
Hello?
Precious, are you there? Ask Carriage you, are you in this group? What room are you supposed
Yes,
to be in?
room 1.
okay, my
Okay,
network is poor. Can you hear
this is
me?
not room 1. So the number of people that's supposed to be in this group is Tife, Precious, and I.
Yes.
Ascarage you, I think you should leave a message on the chat box so that they can guide you on what room you should be in.
I'm supposed to be in room 1, but once I join, it places me on hold and then it takes me out.
Okay, so just put a message on the chat box. Somebody will attend to you, I think.
Okay.
Hi, Precious, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Tife, are you there also?
The first, okay.
Please, can you speak, Tife? If you're where you can talk, can you speak so we can hear you?
I believe you just tap limited minutes.
Okay, Patience, continue, please. We have just 10 minutes, so please just talk.
Okay. I'll be answering one of the questions, which was, what social issue are you most passionate about, and why does it resonate with you personally? I'm passionate about maternal health, maternal and child health, but majorly, good health and well-being that just pertain to women issues. And one of the reasons why this issue resonates with me is because sometimes in 2021, one of my aunts from my partner's side, she died because of poor health care in Nigeria, and also because of, like, I would say, maybe limited health information or the information she had at hand, because the doctor recommended that she carries out a CS, but she insisted on vaginal delivery. And because of those issues, there was doctors were on strike during that period. Then the issue escalated. She could not do delivery by herself. But then they wanted to deliver herself. She ended up passing on in the whole process. So since then, I'm like, if women had access to health
Sorry
information,
about your
knowing that
answer.
CS is not a death, thank you, knowing that CS is not a death sentence, and this thing it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to die. It doesn't make you less of a woman. Like, because in some cultures and some religions, some people feel because I'm not that indebted in their religion, have so much faith, they believe that, oh, my faith means that I should not do this, I should not do that, but it still doesn't limit
Yeah.
or stop them. So that was one of the
Yeah,
reasons why I'm
that's a
like,
very
no, I
okay. Okay,
need to
I
create
think
more
you're
advocacy.
yeah. I think you said it well, actually. Like this is a very major gap, and in as much as there are lots of awareness about this already, you can see that there's just like you said, there are some communities, there are some individuals that are not even aware. Just like we currently technology is vast, but you can still find out that there are a lot of people who are still fighting on how to use technology because of the kind of
Yeah,
mindset that they've had over time.
yeah,
So these are the kind of people that you can also continue to reach out to create this awareness that, just like you said, that CS delivery is not something that is bad. That you give birth to your children via CS does not make you less of a woman. You are completely human, and you're a complete woman, just like every other person that gives birth through vaginal delivery, right? So it's a
yeah,
very good initiative that and a very good gap that you have identified, particularly if you're going to. I feel like she said something about community. Solving this problem in our community is really important. So I don't know if this problem that you have identified is something that you're going to start from your community or outside of your community. I don't know where you reside. I don't know where your community is, but I personally feel like these issues are really paramount within the rural areas and mostly in our
yeah,
villages and in our communities. And so, if we can take, if these are the places that we focus on, taking this initiative to or this awareness to, it will really help because those places they are not even have so much access to good healthcare system, you know. And so, but aside of the healthcare system, what about their mindset? So
yeah.
first of all, we have to deal
Another
with the
thing.
awareness issue. Yeah, we have to first you have to first of all deal with the awareness issue, like be able to educate their mind, like let them know. So it's not like they just showed up at the hospital and then doctor is telling them, oh, madam, with your condition you have to go through CS, and I'm like, what is CS? Do you understand? That's because they have
Yeah,
not been properly guided, they've not been properly taught on the importance of their mindset have not been reshaped to understand that whether I give birth through CS or through vagina, I am not less of a human. I am a complete woman and all of that. So I think that's like the first step that we can begin to that you can begin to take, creating
yeah,
awareness, educating people, mothers, even young people, so long as they're a woman, and even the men too, because sometimes a woman have
yeah.
gained this knowledge, but the man that she's married to have not fully
Jesus
come
is
into
a
this knowledge
system.
based on
Yeah,
religion and tradition, cultures, and all of that. So it's not just
yeah,
the woman, even their husband, even the men in the community also need to be educated on about this thing, so that when the woman are faced with this situation, they can also guide them properly. So I think this is my 2 cents to help you.
Thank you so much. I think you should also go ahead and say one of like something from your own reflection too.
With this, you are a good. You have all my support. Precious, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I think there was the network click somewhere. I don't know. I stopped
Ye-
hearing you.
Yes,
I'm sure you also stopped hearing me. Antifa is
yes. I
still
was
not
saying
talking.
that. Yeah, Woods is
Okay.
not. I think it's Tife. And I was checking the chat box to see if she's going to say anything.
Okay. So did she leave anything in the chat box?
Not none that I saw. None.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I think oh, she actually said she can hear us. But I'm sure maybe she's
Okay.
somewhere where she can't speak. So you can
Yes.
also go ahead. Okay, she said she can't talk. So you can just go ahead and put your idea in the chat box, so that okay, you can put your idea in the chat box, the gaps that you have identified, and why it relates with you, or it resonates with you, and why you want to take up on the initiative, just like Precious had just done. Okay, so while
Ruth, you
we are
can
waiting for
also go
Precious,
ahead.
yeah.
We are waiting for
Yeah,
her.
so while we are waiting for Tife to share her idea, so in the question that was asked, so I wrote that I'm passionate about career counseling and mentorship for young people. And why this actually resonates with me a lot is the fact that um, I personally, from secondary school, I feel like if I had a proper guidance while in secondary school, I wouldn't have been like, okay, I was a science student. And so I personally believe that if I had the right guidance and I have the right mentorship based off on the things that I was able to do, like if they were able to identify my strength early growing up, I don't think I would have done science, maybe something around social sciences. And so because I that was not identified from secondary school, I went off to do science, and also I went also with that even into higher institution. And I remember while I was in higher institution, it got to a point and I was struggling with the course of study that I was doing. And because it is a public school, like it's a federal government school, we didn't have that system of guidance where you can go to a career counselor and share your struggles, or somebody to talk to. And so I also remember falling back and calling my family and telling them I think I am struggling with my course of study. And they didn't ask like professionals. Like the question they asked me were not professional questions. That's because they also did not know how to help me. You understand? And so they're like, okay, do you have a problem? Do you have money? Those were the areas. Do you have money problem? Do you have relationship problem? I'm like, no, I don't have any of this problem, but I think I'm struggling with my course of study. And it was so bad. I practically struggled through the rest of the years that I spent in school, because while doing that course, I discovered that I am not supposed to be doing that at all. And so I just made a resolve to myself. In fact, while I was in school, I even took JAM. It got to a point I took JAM, and this time around I chose pharmacy. But then as I was preparing for post UME, I told myself, you are in science and you are struggling, because the course I was doing at the time was food science and technology. And I'm like, you are doing science and you're struggling. You still now want to go back to pharmacy. Like you want to still go back and study pharmacy, which is also science, and which I believe will be even be more technical and more difficult. And so I actually sat down for the jam that year. I got shortlisted for post UME, but I didn't go because I had to talk to myself and told myself the truth that there's no point going. And so I believe that if those things are those systems are available. Like the secondary school that I went to, we actually had a guidance and counseling session. Like there's a place for that. But I've never seen her come to us to talk to us about anything regarding this area. The focus was totally different. It has nothing to do with what's your interest, what are the things you're interested in, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. And I am still seeing, even in this day, those gaps is in our educational system. There are mismatch in the system already. And a lot of people, that's why it's easy for you to go to school, graduate school, and that is when you are looking for what to do. I believe that if from the get-go you understand what you are doing, there will be no point of you going to higher institution and then coming back after graduation to start looking for what you are supposed to do. I don't know if you understand my point.
Yes, I do. That's it. It's a very
Yeah.
critical issue,
Yeah. So
even till now.
that is the gap that I have identified. And so I am looking to start like a non-profit where we begin to guide young people, especially those in secondary school, because I believe that that is like a good place to start from. That is a good place to start from, secondary school. At least people should be able to identify who they are. Personal awareness is one of the ways to be able to do that, and then have career mentors and and counselors that will be able to guide you. So these are the ways that I'm looking to use technology to bridge that gap that have been in existence for as long as I can remember, and which is still in existence, because I still see people graduating in recent time and they're still struggling with, okay, what am I supposed to do? So somebody who study maybe maybe something like mass communication, and they don't even know what to do at the end of NYC or at the end of graduation. They don't know what to do because of maybe wrong fit. They are not where they're supposed to be, or that's not what they're supposed to have. Put in all their 4 years and 5 years studying.
That
So
makes
yeah,
sense.
Okay. So we have two persons that have not spoken in your group. And then I need you guys to read what Tife has put in the chat box, because she's also part of your group. And then I'm not sure that Precious has said anything.
Yeah,
no,
And
Precious has said so. Precious was the first person that spoke.
okay, so we now have what
Yeah.
Tife has in the group. Has any response been given to, has any contributions been made to Ruth's social issue that she wants to address?
If Precious was the first person that spoke, which contribution have been made to her. So I was the second person, and I just finished talking. I think.
Yes, has any contribution been made to yours?
Not yet.
Okay, just finish.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead.
Okay.
Precious,
Ruth, because I know what you said about career problems. I'm sure this is not really relevant for those that are adolescents or those that are still in school. I think it's even relevant for those that are even post university. Because many people are still in a state of dilemma on this is what I want to do. So that there can be several projects that can be done. Some reaching to adolescents either in school or out of school. Some reaching to young adults that are either university or not only university, like higher institution, or those that are exploring and work that are not necessarily going to a higher institution or a university or polytechnic or any of such. And it's very, very relevant. But the thing is that it's just having to reach these people, because some of them, it is those that are in school, some of the problems you have to face is the parents. Their parents may have a restriction, because there's some parents that they are imposing a career path for their child. So having to break that limit, their parent is one stakeholder.
That's true.
In our society, there are some courses that are still seemingly the course that they want a child to do. Many parents always like you to study a professional course, law, medicine. Those are the courses that most students used to say they want to study. So I won't feel like even
Exactly.
doing programs like providing different options, different course options, like for example, sciences. Most of the courses I knew about when I was in secondary school was medicine, engineering, and pharmacy per se. I never knew about food science, technology. I never knew about microbiology, public health, like other good options
Science, lab
that
tech, and the rest.
yes. So like even giving the child options of okay, in this field, it's not just medicine, not just pharmacy, not just lab science. There are so many options for you to pick from. So that based on the child limits.
Yeah.
So like this is it's a very big work, but it is definitely scalable, even beyond Nigeria to other African countries and like collaborating with governments to like educating the counselors in school. Most of all these counselors are just there as figureheads, if I can say so. So
Honestly, like the counselor in my secondary school, every meeting with her is, do you have a boyfriend? They have reported, like, and I'm like, there are issues. Why is the only boyfriend they are focusing on? Like, that is the only thing she calls us for, to ask questions that are not even about our menstrual hygiene, nothing in that area. Every time she calls you is to ask you about men. Do you have a boyfriend? This one, that one, like nothing. It was really, it wasn't, it was sad. It was really a sad thing.
Okay, so I'm going to pause a very, very interesting discussion right now. And then so we have people from other groups who got yanked from their groups, maybe due to network. I'm sure that from the next class, we would use an alternative solution, maybe tech solution, maybe switch to Zoom to handle that.
Okay.
Since Teams appears to be problematic right now. So before we move on, let's take a look at Tife's submission in the chat box. I just want one person to make a comment on Tife's, and then we take people from the other groups so that we can actually wrap up. We are 11 minutes over the time that we were supposed to use, but just because we didn't start on time, so we're still within the 2 hours that we wanted to use. But I don't want us to stay too long so that we can get on about our days. So we'll take Fife's. I want somebody to make a comment on Fife's submission, and then we can take from the other rooms where they got yanked off.
Okay. Precious, would you like to go?
Yes. Tife, I think one thing she's passionate about is waste management and also recycling, repurposing of waste products. And it is very, very relevant. I can even say that they are one of the people shining in this day and age because there is so many attention is now coming to them because of the continuous waste products we tend to have every day. Like many of us have different wastes. So I think that this is a very good one. And there are so many things that have to be changing people's mindsets. A lot of people believe that they have to dispose their waste. So telling them that you want to maybe buy from them or educating them, because most of this, I don't know if we ever get to a point where we have little to no waste, because even in a way of even still preserving or making use of some waste, we still end up having more waste. I was reading an article of a lady that said that she used to buy clothes from people that are disposing it. But people still asked her that she will still end up having more waste because she cannot use all the clothes she's buying from these people. But it still have it to do with collaborating with governments, collaborating with people in communities, buying their clothes or whatever it is, the waste material you are using, to repurposing it for good, and also teaching people, because the education part, teaching people how they can make use, repurpose some of their waste products. If the tires can be turned into maybe table decks or plants in place, bottles can be, just teaching people. Education is also a key part in like beyond also doing it for yourself as an organization, also educating people, creating projects, educating people in schools, in religious organization, in offices, in industries, like every week, bringing it down in different organizations is going to be relevant. That is my own thoughts on it.
Okay. So what we can say from what you've said is to take us back to the characteristics of social enterprises. The last point that you said, talking about training, capacity building. If you remember that we said that it is one of the things that characterizes social enterprises. I hope that as you are having these conversations, you're noting some things down. Somebody has already mentioned collaboration here, collaborating with government or other organizations to ensure that you get the waste off the people and you're able to recycle it. So these are some of the things that I'm open and I was hoping that this conversation would generate. So now let's take people from the other rooms. Anybody wants to share? From the other
Hello,
rooms,
ma'am.
the people from the other room. Yes. Anybody wants to share?
Eze Ogochukwu, can you unmute your
Yes,
mic
please.
and please share your ideas with the house? Eze Ogochukwu. Yes, please.
All right, I'm here.
Okay, let's go.
Please, you have the floor. Share your idea.
Okay, thank you. I said that I would like to create a system where people, especially the elderly, would be able to access their medication with ease without having to actually go outside and get their medication, because probably with aging, their families would not be with them, seeing as they have gone out to create their own families too, or maybe pregnant women, maybe a system where they could bring in their prescriptions and their medications are arranged for them and then sent out to their homes or wherever they are. That's it.
Okay. So any comments? How can she use technology to expand the impact or to power this? Let's even ask Eze, before they bring in more ideas for you, how do you intend to power this, whether with or without technology?
Okay. Firstly, I was intending maybe to gather a data of like elderly people, or maybe like from hospitals and all, if it would be possible to get across to them, maybe through their numbers. And you know, since I don't know if it's to be easy for elderly people to access, like to use Androids, I don't know, like elderly people, or maybe get across to their family members and then create like an application where they could put in their prescriptions. Or if that is not accessible, maybe they could send in they could send in their prescription through the hospitals and all. That's it.
Okay, so the floor is open. This is an interesting one, and so let's also contribute to her, and so that she can take your feedback back to our form and then begin to look at it with a fresh eye. The same for everybody that have said something, that have presented. You are now take the feedback that you've gotten back to your form to re-reflect on what you have written. So let's go. Who wants to push for easy?
I want to say something. Concerning this is the problem you stated about making drug accessible to older people. I believe that most older people in that age used to have like caregivers or like a family member responsible for them. So they can like developing a application tailored to this need, tailored to this issue, or also leveraging some like apps that are already available that they can just but I believe that it have to be like have to build or collaborate with some existing health tracker, or I don't know, you can collaborate with some existing health digital products so that you can have access to these older people or building your own. And the major way to reach them is by reaching their caregiver, their family member, because they'll most likely be the one to pay for their treatments or pay for the drugs you are providing, and you have to bring some health professionals on board. It's a big project. From my own point of view, it's a big project beyond just using social media or them having access. They don't need to have access to a Android. Most of them, when they are going to the hospital, is that their child or their son or a neighbor, they have somebody responsible for them. So it is reaching any young person or any middle class person, you have also reached them, and that person will definitely know about their health issue, and this older person can speak through that health caregiver can speak through that person's phone, because the person will be registered using the person's name, but will be saying I'm responsible for so person. Can also consult a doctor, a professional, a healthcare professional through the software you've made available. That's my own thoughts on it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other person?
Okay, so I didn't really hear what she shared, or since I didn't really hear what her idea is, but I can guess it has to do with the health of elderly people and how to get medication across to them. So just like you have mentioned, I don't know if you're a medical person or medical personnel, but then if you're not, this is a lot. You have to do quite a lot of studies and practices. And also, just like she mentioned, as part of the characteristics for social entrepreneurship, which is collaboration. And just like Precious said, you have to work with quite a lot of health systems to know how these things are done. And one of the ways that you can use technology, like Precious said, is if you can also develop your app that is user friendly, so that anybody, though they are old, but they are able to access it in case the people who care, their caregivers are not around, they can also be able to access it. So this is what I think.
Okay. Thank you very much. Who else has something to say? There's a comment in the chat box that says, think of making it a health monitoring and emergency hub for the elderly. That's also good. This is what I'm going to say. This session is a rider to the next session that is going to be unpacking in great deal how to idealize, whatever solutions that you have. When you initially start having these thoughts in your head, there will be a lot of things. Some will feel unachievable, some will feel too much to take on, and some will end up not having enough USP to succeed. But this is just a starting point to, begin to think about your idea. There are other solutions that elderly people can use on their own, without necessarily using the internet. For example, there are USSDs. You could build a solution around USSD. But that's by the way, that is when you get to the next session and you begin to unpack it. But this is what I'm going to say. Between now and on Friday, I want you to take a good look at the only assignment you have between now and on Friday and Thursday, Friday, is to really, really search yourself and look at the social issue that bothers you the most and what you can do about it. Whatever comes to your head, I want you to have a jotter or on your phone. I want you to open a note on your phone and call it the parking lot. Now, what you do with the parking lot is everything that comes to your head around that social issue, problems, or whatever you want to call it. Any and everything, whether silly or not silly, anything that comes to your head around that idea, just put it down in that parking lot. If you start putting things in your parking lot from today, by Thursday, you'll have things in your parking lot that are central, that when you take a look at it, they all look the same or they are almost the same. That gives you the central idea that you're looking for. Now, by the time you get into the second class, the second class will start with ideation techniques for social enterprise concepts, where you will now make that particular social issue that you want to solve the central thing. And then you begin to look at other things that are attached to it, like appendages that you can bring into it. Then this very second class that you're going to take with Dr. Akombi will now expose you to the design thinking methodologies for problem solving. This is now when you would know what works for that particular idea that you have, how you can implement it, how you can, make it a real thing. But if you do not do this other assignment of now taking all the feedbacks that you have gotten today and then putting things in your parking lot, you will struggle with the second class. So that's what I want you to use the rest of this week to do. And when you are doing it, you will receive a packet at the end of this session that contains your schedule. Watch out for the section of the packet that talks about capstone. It tells you about what you need to do this week. For example, for Eze that talked about the medical app, before you can even think about the solution you want to use, you need to properly identify who your target audience will be, where they are. It is not enough to say, elderly people. Where are these elderly people? Are they in the rural area? Are they in the urban area? For the person that talks about waste management, where are you collecting your waste? What type of waste? Are you collecting the waste in the urban area or in the rural area or the peri-urban area? Because remember, we said when we defined and mentioned the characteristics of social enterprises, we talked about the fact that it is stakeholder-centric. That means your stakeholders actually have a role to play in the solution that you will actually bring out. So if you bring a solution that will not meet the needs of the people that you want to serve, it is dead on arrival. So you take this week to populate your parking lot and then critically identify your stakeholders and where they are. And I keep mentioning where they are because I want you to look at it from the angle of, are your stakeholders global? Are they local? Are they regional? Are they at the community level? If they are local, are they in the urban area? Are they in the peri-urban area? Are they in the rural area? Do we understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So that's what I want. So I want you to do, and I'll be on the lookout. From Thursday, I'll be checking your Google Forms to see what you have populated, and if you put in things into your Google Forms before Thursday, I'll be able to review and also provide some insights, and then I will share that with the resource person for the coming week, so that he's able to tailor his examples and advices towards what you have written in your forms. So please, let's work towards having the forms populated to our next set. I'm not saying it will be perfect. You will actually work on that form almost through to the fifth week, but so that every resource person is able to build on the ideas that you have, it is important that you populate that form. After the next class, you will still find reasons to go back to it and refine it And so when you refine it, your refined form will also be shared with the next resource person. So thank you very much, everybody. I want to thank you for staying through to this time. We're supposed to have 38 people on call, but only few of you showed up. And I want to believe that you found, if not much, you found some value in today's session. Am I right to believe that?
Yes, ma'am. So much.
Okay, so I'm going to yield the mic back to Dr. Ibijoke for the wrap up for today. And then again, like I said, the slides for today and your packets will be possibly emailed to you. She's going to handle that, talk about the process for that. So I'm yielding the mic back to you, Dr. Ibijoke. Is she on the call? I think her mic is muted.
Okay, thank you very much. We really appreciate you for the time we've had, the impactful time that we've had with you today. Yes, I am on the call. Can you hear me? Can you hear me,
Yes, ma'am.
everyone? Can you hear me?
Yes,
I hear you,
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes.
Okay, I think she got knocked off the call. It's a good place to wrap up. I think we're going to assign Ruth as the session coordinator. And then maybe Ruth and Precious as the session coordinator for this week and the coming week. So Ruth, do you have anything to, okay, Dr. Ibijoke is back.
Now? Hello, everyone.
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We want to appreciate the time you've taken to take us through the introductory part of this program, Entrethrive 101. On behalf of the management, the Board of Trustees, we want to appreciate you. Thank you. I would like everyone to type in the chat box. Thank you to Ms. Mofoye Kemole for training us today. And we can as well share how impactful today's class has been. Kindly type it in the chat box. Let's appreciate her. Please, let's keep our responses coming. Can we see it in the chat box? Let's appreciate her for the time out, the time she has taken to share with us some of the big things that she knows about entrepreneurship, especially social entrepreneurship. I can see us typing in the chat box. Are we all on this call? Are we still on this call?